What's up YouTube? It's me, Jess, and I'm an opera singer. Today's video is Patron Pick of the Month, and for this month they have chosen Keri René Fuller singing Memory from Cats. Let's go.
To the moonlight, let your memory lead you. Open up, enter in. If you find there the meaning of what happiness is, then a new life will begin. Memory, all alone in the moonlight, I can smile at the old days. I was beautiful then. I remember the time I knew what happiness was. Let the memory live again. Burnt out ends of smoky days, the stale, cold smell of morning. The street lamp dies, another night is over. For the sunrise, I must think of a new life, and I mustn't give in. When the dawn comes, tonight will be a memory too, and a new day will begin.
Okay. Key change. We're gonna pause here. Promise we'll rewind. Get back into this. I have never heard of Miss Keri René Fuller, and I am in love with the tone of her voice. Her voice sounds pleasing to the ear because every note she has sung so far sounds relatively easy for her in her range. Now, I have never seen Cats, nor have never heard the song Memory, so I'm not too familiar with the context of the song within the storyline, but we can just analyze the voice and the interpretation of the text. The first thing I want to talk about is her range and the tone that she is producing in different registers of her voice within this song. I am a big advocate for all voice types really understanding and learning how to develop your lower register, especially your chest voice, no matter the genre you are choosing to sing in. Her middle and lower register is beautiful, one, because of the way she is choosing to pronounce or enunciate the different syllables within the text. That is so important in any language, and especially so in musical theater. So the two phrases I would like to focus on where she dipped into her lower register are the first, then a new life will begin, and the second, let the memory live again. On both of these phrases, on the last two words, the melody dips in the lower register. The quality of the vowel really is going to play a big part in the resonating enhancements or aesthetically pleasing sounds that the listener will get to enjoy. So listening to this line, then a new life will begin. The last two words, will begin. Listen to what the vowels are supposed to be.
Then a new life will begin.
So in these two words, there are 3 syllables, will begin. The first and third syllable have the same vowel, while the second syllable has a much more closed vowel in comparison to the other 2 surrounding it. Will be has a much more closed vowel than I and in for begin. Notice how she somewhat modifies the third syllable, the third vowel, in order to enhance the resonating qualities so that the listener can really enjoy a beautiful sound.
Then a new life will begin.
That is going to be necessary depending on what part of a register you are singing in. On the second one, she kind of opens up that vowel just ever so slightly, and that can be utilized in various parts of someone's register, especially the extreme parts of registers, where modification of a vowel is just necessary in order to produce a better sound. In these types of circumstances, you can prioritize resonating sounds instead of what the actual vowel of the word would be in regular speaking patterns. Now, in the second example, the words are let the memory live again, and the last 2 words make 3 syllables, live again. And notice the difference of vowels in comparison to the first example that we talked about. Le has the same vowel as we were examining in the phrase before. Now you have 2 new vowels that we are going to look at. Which is a schwa, and then again, the second syllable of again opens up a bit more to and epsilon or open e vowel. When she chooses to sing this particular phrase, she actually does not take a breath before the word live, but instead takes a breath right before again.
Let the memory live again.
Now, what I would really like you to take from all of this is listening to the sound of the vowel, because essentially that is what is going to bring out the resonating factors of sound when singing. And I love how crystal clear the vowels are when she's dipping in her lower register. And I want to point this out because I don't think that there is enough emphasis on having a developed lower register for people who sing soprano repertoire. And so this is fantastic to really examine and learn from. The last thing I want to point out in terms of pronunciation is how she is using consonants to her advantage. I particularly love the way she is pronouncing the word new. She's kept it consistent. There are a couple of ways you can pronounce the word new. You can do new or you can do new with a more pure oo vowel. I like the way that she is doing it. It gives a little bit more emphasis to that word and brings out that word a bit more within that sentence.
Then a new life will begin. I remember the time I knew what happiness was.
And I give her applause because she's kept it consistent. I think she's sang it twice already, and it sounds fantastic both times. Now let's look at this line, memory all alone in the moonlight. This line sits in the middle upper register and comes just after a phrase that ended in a lower register. So hearing that contrast, one right after another, is great as a listener and also as a singer, because you can take in the mouth structure, even the facials that are happening during those transitions, and what the singer chose to do in order to produce the sound that they wanted. The phrase before this ended on a B flat 3. Will Well, that's a G3, then it goes up to begin. Then the very next phrase jumps up an octave. You must think about what mentally and physically needs to happen in order to get out a good sound on that B4, an octave jump from the note before. Now, the way this song was written, you actually have a little bit of a break to think about what is going to happen next.
Then a new life will begin.
For some singers, that can actually be detrimental, believe it or not. Overthinking within that moment can do more harm than good. However, with good practice and a lot of experience, that really shouldn't have too much of an effect on a professional singer. For many soprani, this one line sits within the breaking point of the next register. That is definitely the case for me. C5 and D5 are areas that I have to pay special attention to in my register and not push too much. This phrase in particular sits on B flat 4, goes down to A4, and then goes up to C5 before resolving to B4.
All alone in the moonlight.
The octave leap from the note before, we've got this beautiful open vowel of F for the word memory. And you've also got an M. You can really use it to your advantage to emphasize whatever word that may be. Now, when you isolate the first syllable of memory, which has that open S sound, and listen to her performance of it, you can hear a crystal clear the entire duration of the note. Now, she chose to not give that note any vibrato, which is totally fine. I think mixing up words with straight tone and vibrato is really essential in music. And what that did is it just gave this pingy, crystal clear, open S sound immediately on the onset of the note, which is really nice to hear, especially when you come from a note that sits significantly lower than the note that she sang. Now, as she moves along in this phrase, I love the continuity of all of the notes in the phrase. And in particular, she gave a lot of emphasis on the compound word moonlight. The separation of the N from moon to the L in light was really emphasized when she sang.
All alone in the moonlight.
Now, if I were to speak the word moonlight the way she sang it, it would sound like this: moonlight. Hear the separation of the N to the L by adding an extra vowel essentially to the word. Moonlight is what you really hear if you listen closely. I don't necessarily care for it, but I do understand why it happens. Let's talk about one more example that supports this idea of the importance of enunciating through each and every syllable, all of the vowels and all of the consonants within words. This next phrase is the stale, cold smell of morning. I love how much time she took on the SM of the word smell before giving us the satisfaction of that vowel. But we get to enjoy the long duration of the SM within the word smell before getting that resolution of the open vowel.
Burnt out ends of smoky days, the stale, cold smell of morning.
And do you see what that does to the overall structure of this phrase? It really does give a shape to the phrase, which is vital when you're trying to communicate a storyline to an audience. What makes storytelling and singing enjoyable is intonation, different melodies, and how you choose to emphasize certain words within a phrase. By sitting on that SM a bit longer than, let's say, usual, it really gives this emphasis to the word, which gives overall structure to the phrase. Job well done.
When the dawn comes, tonight will be a memory too, and a new day. begin. Woo! Like a flower as the dawn is breaking, the memory is fading. Touch me, it's so easy to leave me all alone with the memory of my days in the sun. If you touch me, you'll understand what happiness is. Look, a new day has begun.
Woo! Standing ovation. That was so good. I am truly always floored by people who just have this easy sounding, high belting notes. It's just so fascinating to me. And whenever I hear it, I don't know why I'm very weird, but I picture myself just being like the saying, like a fly on the wall. Like I just want to be like a little person in their pharynx, just seeing what is really happening. I think just physiology and how the body works in order to do what you're asking it to do really is so fascinating. Now, what I thought was interesting is what she did to prepare for the phrase, touch me, it's so easy to leave me. If you noticed, the breath that she took right before touch me, which sits on a C sharp 5, I don't know what key technically we're in, of C sharp 5 or D flat 5, maybe D flat 5. Now the breath that she took was purely from her nose, at least from what I observed, which can be very beneficial. I often will go back and forth taking a breath between my mouth or my nose, or even both. It just depends on the phrase, how much time I have for that breath, and what the note is coming next.
The memory is fading. Touch me, it's so easy to leave me all alone with the memory of my days in the sun.
Now what that can do, taking that breath within the nasal cavity, it can prepare your nasal cavity for the note that is to come. Because this note sits so high and you're bringing up a good amount of chest voice up there, bringing that nasal aspect to it is going to be a bit advantageous instead of pushing up a lot of weight up there, which can be really hard. You hear all the nasal qualities within that sound. It's just bright, it's effortless, and it just sounds like it's floating. And I think preparing that phrase with a breath through the nose can definitely help with that if you don't already have that type of voice. Now, I don't know if she did that intentionally and if she practices that or does that every single time in her performances, but I thought that was really great to see. The notes keep going and eventually goes up to an E flat 5, which is crazy high. Oh, look, YouTube is saying that's the most replayed part. Makes sense because it sounds fantastic. And, oh my God, and that E flat 5 is on a closed eval. Jeez. That's like at least my worst nightmare. The higher you go and the more you incorporate closed vowels is just like, no, no, no. But she did it so amazingly. The E vowel was pure. It sounded just like it was soaring, just like she knew what she was doing. Like, this is just pretty natural for her. You know what I'm curious to know is what her speaking voice sounds like. Fantastic job. I'm definitely going to be listening to this a lot more and seeing how I can incorporate some of her technique into my own singing practice. If you liked all that you saw, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Comment down below what other songs from musicals I should do a performance analysis on. Lastly, make sure you check out the description box for ways you can keep in touch with me, get access to exclusive perks, and or take a lesson with me. I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you soon. Bye!